points. I love it. I can't believe you're pregnant.
Daniel Stuart Baker played the character of Unknown Hinson. It was a unique character that he invented himself based on the way that people where he's from used to talk, which was Albemarle, North Carolina. So he's only like he's from a place that's only like 30 minutes from where I grew up as a kid, Charlotte, North Carolina. And my father, who was very popular in that town and very well known on the, at the almost any bar in town, he's got his own like legend in a way. And it's funny because I was at his house on his computer. He got his first computer just a couple of years before he died. So it was in the late 2000s. And I was playing a video of Unknown Hinson. And he's like walking by and sees it. It's like, hey, that's Danny. And I know that the guy's name is Daniel Stuart Baker. And they're like, you know him? And I was like, oh, yeah, I know Danny. He's been around forever. He used to do that show on public access here, with the Wild South. And, and he's been playing clubs for years, man. Everybody knows Danny. Shit. He's like, yeah, Danny's a good dude. It's like, I was just like, okay, cool. I'm not surprised. That's what I'm shocked about probably more than anything is that I'm not surprised that there's someone else that, I'm a big fan of that he knows personally. Like, oh yeah, I know Danny pretty well actually. He lives out in Albemarle. I was like, yeah, he does. and it was just kind of one of those things where, it was kind of it's a small world, and I was showing him some Squeakbilly clips, and he was like, "Oh, that sounds like Daddy, all right." Doing an Unknown Hinson thing again, and the character of Early Kyler from the Squidbillies is based on Unknown Hinson, the character that Daniel Stuart Baker created. Really early, it's just an animated squid embodiment of Unknown Hinson. But the thing is from what I hear is that one of the things that gave him inspiration for the character was also Jessica White, the Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, the famous mountain dancer, and his daddy was probably the most famous mountain dancer. He's in the Library of Congress and shit, and he's just crazy. He's the guy who they did they weren't PBS, but they did a documentary on him where he's talking about, I just love huffing gas. He's just fucking crazy as shit. He's talking about, getting in a fight with his wife. He's like, tell her, you better start frying them eggs better than you've been frying them. With a knife at her throat. I mean, I know I shouldn't laugh, but it is kind of funny. I mean, that poor lady, he I'm sure, that's the thing though, is that, she stuck with him, so I don't know, maybe she was fine with it. But, a couple of years back, he had said something that was probably, something he did regret, but thing is, he said something about Dolly Parton. And everybody in the South loves Dolly Parton. But she had said, this was back like in 2020 or 2021, we have a big cultural upheaval in this country. And Dolly Parton, I guess, said something that, that people thought was a little too, open-minded sounding. And Dolly, it seems like she's always been rather open-minded, though. And, the thing was, he said something about calling her some old slut or something like that, and it just really upset everyone. And they canceled him. I mean, they literally canceled him off of Squidbillies, And then it was unfortunate because another controversial person that I'm also love to death, Tracy Morgan, took over, I guess just out of irony, that he took over the voice of Early. And the thing is, it just didn't fit. It really didn't. Like I said, I love Tracy Morgan. But it's just like, once Early has done the voice, they only did one season with Tracy, and then they just ended it. Because I think everybody was probably like, yeah, this ain't going to work. And the thing is, I miss Danny. Now, I'm sure some people were upset by what he said, but I also think that people don't realize that he's always used to performing for everyone. No one really thinks of him as Daniel Stuart Baker. They only think of him as either Unknown Hinson or Early Kyler. So when he's sitting there, he's saying something that got him canceled. He was speaking in the voice of, you know, Early Kyler or Unknown Hinson, you know, which is something they would totally say. Early Kyler would totally say that. I mean, he'd say it about anyone, you know. I just find it funny that, you know, that nobody seemed to come to his defense or anything and say, hey, wait a minute, maybe people were getting a little out of hand with this, you know. And one of my all-time favorite, you know, programs, just done. They could have gone several more years with it, you know. Still, you know, quite popular. You know, one of the best things they ever put on Adult Swim is that, you know, Aqua Teens. You know, I mean, yeah, Rick and Morty's great too. In some ways, Rick and Morty I might even like better. You know, but some seasons are really good, and some seasons are kind of like, you know, it's like it seems like Dan Harmon's going through some things or something. I don't know. But you know, I just find it, you know, that it's really unfortunate that everybody jumped the gun and were like, yeah, get him canceled, and then you know, of course, you know, the production company in Atlanta decided to, you know, fire him, and Daniel's like, I'm sorry. I mean, what the fuck, you know? Like, I think that it was too late for him because everyone jumps the gun on everything these days and get on these cultural bandwagons where they just want to cancel. They don't even know the guy. They don't even know the show. You know, he just lost his wife recently. Before that, and he had an interview where he said, I lost my wife. And then I lost the next greatest thing I ever had next to her was the Squidbillies, all kind of just back to back. You know, plus it was a really terrible time in this country for everyone. You know, it's just sad. It really isn't sad. But you know, I've got some clips. You know, some outtakes of his. You know, just pay my respects to the man because I always thought he was absolutely hilarious. No matter what he does, I just thought he was. And yeah, I mean, I don't really care for him. You know, if he really meant to attack Dolly Parton, you know, personally, then yeah, that probably wasn't cool. But I have a feeling that he really was just kind of doing it because people will probably laugh and be like, shut up, Early. You know? I mean, I don't know. I think some people may have misunderstood, but by the time, you know, he'd had any chance to, you know, correct them, you know, or explain things to them, plus nobody really understood the context of this guy, you know, like his whole history, you know, of being Early Kyler, his whole history of Unknown Hinson before that, because see, he was on Charlotte, you know, public. You know, he was the public access channel. You know, the guy who's at the end that I always have on. I do not freebase cocaine. That was his sidekick. You know, that was actually from a show he did in Nashville before that. But he was a sidekick with him. They were a partner, you know, comedy team. That dude, you know, and Hinson. You know, and you know, so yeah, I just want to say, you know, I miss the guy, loved him to death. You know, my father knew him. You know, it's just kind of like, it's just kind of sad, really. I think maybe, you know, after some time they should get some sort of reprieve, you know. But check it out.
See, hell, I told you any damn idiot can make that racket. There ain't nothing to that mess. There ain't a damn thing to it. Listen, it takes talent to play country western. It don't take no damn talent to play that mess. I mean, a damn 15-year-old punk can do it. Liquid chicken, baby! Do you have problems with your dental work? Does your gums bleed and get infected? Well, the answer to all your prayers is in this little bottle. You can eat liquid chicken with a straw. It's got all the vitamins and minerals of solid chicken, but it don't promote tooth decay. And, most of all, it don't promote a solid movement. Remember what happened to Elvis? Think about it. Liquid chicken is convenient, too. If you ain't got time to wash your hands and eat, just turn up a bottle of liquid chicken or drink it with a straw. Damn, that's good.
I can't find my balls.
Balls is a state of mind, son. Hell, you got more balls than you ever had. 6 or 7 little bitty ones.
Oh, yeah, there they are.
Damn, not a vein amongst them. All right, I reckon I'll have to go into the eye. Holler if I named after my daddy.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's right there on my birth certificate. Mama, Miss Hinson. Daddy, unknown. I swear. How'd you get your name, Big Dick? There's only one way to capture the elusive bunfish. Ain't that what you was talking about?
No, we were discussing this boy's paternity.
Oh, I couldn't hear shit down there. Whose bicycle is this? Romance? I love it. I can't believe you're pregnant. Shut you damn sperm gurgler. Hell, he just give me $500 just to hang out and be myself. Why can't you be cool like that? Huh?
Well, I still don't approve, but let's take that money to the engine casino and buy some cocaine.
Fish camp woman. Lord, I like the way you smell, darling. Fish camp woman. Darling, I like the way you smell. Now flog my ass.
Come now you're fucking with me now. Nice one.
See if that son bitch will fax now.
It never was able to fax. It's a coffee maker.
You dumbass, you can't fax coffee. Coffee don't fax worth a damn. Every time the rain hits it, it'll run. Observe, son. This is how a creature makes love.
Patty? She's asleep.
Chicken.
Good. Well, I got far enough, and you won't always get arrested for it neither. Cheech and or Chong.
It's Rodrigo, bro.
Whatever it is. You keep your damn hot flesh away from my sausage extruder. They find any more hairy hot dogs? That's your ass, S.A. Not.
But yeah, it's really sad that, you know, they ended the Squidbillies, and I don't know if he even tours or anything anymore. You know, he's a hell of a guitar player too. He's actually very good. He's very good. He does Hendrix covers quite well. You know, he does Little Wang, except where he does Little Wang. You know, and I love his Fish Cat Woman song. Honey, I like the way you smell, darling. I mean, he is. He's a very talented guy, you know, and he's from my neck of the woods, you know. We're both, you know, native born Tar Heels, you know. So I hate to say that, you know, he's been put out to pasture. You know, I felt like a little prematurely. Yeah, I miss him though. The thing is, I'm sure it was a bunch of posers or the reason why he's been canceled. A bunch of posers who had no clue about him or his history. You know, maybe he is trying to find a way to distract himself from his wife dying, you know. And, you know, he was someone who, you know, always had a gig of some kind, either whether it be, you know, the Wild Wild South, you know, or toured around, you know, doing Unknown Hinson shows. You know, he also was a bass player for the Boxmasters, which is a fucking great name. Was it Billy Bob Thornton? That's his band, the Boxmasters, and he, you know, was the bass player for him, you know, and Yeah, he's just, you know, super talented guy. You know, he actually seems like he's really just, his real self is nothing like early Kyler. His real self is nothing like Unknown Hinson. He just kind of based it on a combination of Jesco White, you know, his craziness, but then meshed it together with, you know, just this, the rural North Carolina accent that he uses. Because he, like I said, he sounds nothing like that when he actually, you know, is not in character. But I think that he's just so used to being in character that he figured everybody would assume that he's in character. You know, I don't think he actually meant what he said. It just sounds like something Early Collar would say. You know, so I don't know. But you know, we miss you, Mr. Baker, and hopefully we'll see you back, you know, in some similar capacity, you know, with, some a little more popularity. You know, but yeah, so you know, tell Ricky to tell Mama I said hi. Love y'all, bye.
Man to man, your operation. Are you glad you went through it? Man to man, now tell me, was it our divorce that made you have this surgery? I'm sorry, but man to man, you're still a woman to me.
I just wanna tell you all, go fuck yourself. Oh, shit. Go fuck yourself.
Say that today I do not freebase cocaine.